Okay, this is a video review of my new Chinese Carbon 29er. This particular model is an LTK023, which I purchased directly from LTK. I apologize if there are sudden movements in this video. It's quite buggy out here, so I may have to swat away some mosquitoes. In any case, I hope this video is helpful to those who are considering purchasing a Chinese Carbon 29er. As I said, I purchased this one directly from LTK. The delivery time was approximately 30 days, which is exactly what they promised. The delivery time was a little bit longer for mine because I purchased an 18-inch frame size, and I actually wanted 2 bottle cage mount locations, which was a sort of a make or break for me. And stock, only the 20-inch model comes with 2 cages. And they were kind enough to make a new frame with 2 bottle cage mount locations for me. So let's just sort of go from front to back, and I'll talk about how the build went and various issues that others have had and whether or not I had those issues. So starting at the headset, I had no issues up front. The Nico branded headset was actually of pretty high quality. I would say that it was of similar quality to other FSA integrated headsets and Giant rebranded FSA headsets that I've had. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I believe that the bearing seats in the frame are actually just machined carbon, and the tooling looked to be of very high quality. The only issue I had at all was getting the bottom bearing in and out of the frame. There was a little bit extra clear coat on the inside, and it took like 30 seconds with a round file to get the bearing to go in and out easily. Had nothing to do with the actual seat, it was just the lip here getting it in and out. Other than that, it's tightened up and been solid with no issues. Moving back on the frame, the internal cable routing. Let's first look at the brake routing. So the brake hose, or in my case the brake cable, routes through the frame inside an internal shroud or hose, plastic hosing. I had no problems with that. It goes right in on the down tube and comes out at the chainstay. So no problems there. Where I did have some issues was with the derailleur cable routing. Essentially, the frame is designed to have a stop here on the housing, and then it just has a liner for the internal cable to come out at the chainstay. Well, this is what was inside the frame, and you can see that it's kind of really cheap plastic hose for the internal cable to route through. Well, you can see it's hardly compressionless. So after I finished the build and started cabling, the shift quality at the rear derailleur was extremely poor, even with my ghetto 1x8 setup. So if you have a 1x10 or any 10-speed or 9-speed setup, and you're sensitive to shifting, I think that you're better off doing what I did, which is actually drilling out the cable stops there very carefully, obviously, and then struggling to route full housing through the frame, which is sort of what I prefer anyway for longevity and waterproof cable setup here in New England. And once I did that, it's been no issues, and I actually found it relatively easy. It was kind of a struggle at first to route the housing through the frame, but you just kind of go in at the chainstay. There's drilled sections in the bottom bracket where you can route it up through the down tube, and then the hardest part is just getting it to come out at the hole there. Alright, so moving back, the seat post, this was one of the areas that I was most nervous about with this frame. I've had to send back previous direct buy Asia carbon frames because the seat tube was too large for the seat post. And this one I wish that it was a little bit tighter tolerance, but it's actually okay. Once tightened down, I don't notice any rocking in the frame or anything like that. And I used carbon paste and it has not yet slipped. I haven't really taken it for a true trail ride yet, so we'll see. This was another area on the frame where I had to do some finish work. The seat post collar is actually pretty nice, but most seat post collars are 15 millimeters in height, and the area on the frame that was machined off for the seat post collar to set down onto was actually not quite tall enough. So I did a little bit of filing on the frame and actually used a round file on the inside of the clamp to get it to set farther down. And it's not all the way down, but I think that it's good enough and clamps pretty hard. So we'll see if that works out. I think that it's going to be fine. Part of the reason that I went to that trouble was that the clamp that's sent with the frame has these cutouts in it, and the lip of the frame itself was actually visible in the cutout, and I don't think that this section of the clamp was clamping down adequately on the frame. Okay, moving down, the bottle cage mounts that were added for me on this frame, I was warned that it would be difficult to get a bottle in and out, so I actually went and bought a side loader cage that has slot mounts on it. So this cage is actually slid all the way down. The mounts are about here. It would have been impossible to get a bottle in and out with a standard cage, but with this setup I'm able to get 2 full-size bottles in and out without issue. Moving down to the bottom bracket, this is an area that some people have said was sort of, they had finish issues. I would dispute that. I felt that, so first of all, I have the 68 millimeter threaded standard BSA bottom bracket on this bike, and the threads were well chased. It was extremely well faced. You could see that it had been faced before it left the factory, and the bottom bracket installed with no issues whatsoever. Alright, moving back again, another area that people have had some issues with is the dropouts. And I guess some people have had extra material on the inside of the dropouts, and the wheel didn't sit straight in the frame. I have had no problems with that. My wheel went in easily, and you know, some people have had problems with these bolts for the derailleur hanger sitting proud of the dropout. That was no issue for me. And as you can see, this is a Rampage 235, a relatively large 29er tire, and there's ample clearance at the chainstays and, I'm sorry, at the seat stays and at the chainstays, even with this wrapping of a tube. So, and it sits directly center in the frame. Another area that some people have had some issues is mounting a BB7 cable brake on this chainstay mounted disc brake here, and for me that's been not a problem. Basically I just attached the cable first to the cable stop and then attached the caliper itself to the frame. Took me no extra time. If I had not known in advance to do that, it probably would have taken me an extra 5 minutes. So, and then overall, the finish of the frame is just stunning. I chose the matte unidirectional carbon. You can see here in the sun that it's just beautiful, seeing the individual fibers. The finishing is gorgeous. I would say that in comparison to the other carbon frames I've owned, which have all been Giant branded high-end carbon frames, that it meets or honestly exceeds those standards, especially for a crash replacement frame that I received from Giant, which obviously had blemishes on it. And the finish is not perfect. I mean, you can see up here at the entrance for the cable, there's a little bit of defect there, but for the most part, the finish itself is just beautiful. The carbon is gorgeous. So I am pretty pleased with my purchase overall. I really hope that it works out. Durability is yet to be proven. However, many others are on this exact frame and have had no issues, so we shall see, and I'll report back with a long-term trail test review. I hope that this video helps others who are on the fence deciding about whether or not to purchase a Chinese carbon bike. My experience with LT bikes was great. They were very professional, communicative. So, yeah. Good luck, all.